Good morning or good afternoon, and welcome everyone to this Wednesday webinar. I hope you can hear me okay. For those of you who have been here before during our webinars, you know the drill. Use the chat box to introduce yourself, to say where you're from, which organization you're with. And maybe if some of you can also let me know if you can hear me loud and clear, that would be really helpful. So, we're gonna talk about fleet management performance. Um, and that is an important thing. So we're going to take about 15 minutes to share some of the ideas that we have, and then we have some time at the end to dig into your questions. Now, if you have a question, you can use the chat box. You see a little icon there with a question mark. And if you have a question, just type it in the chat box, use that little icon so I can pick it up later. That would be very helpful. Okay, so I hope you're all ready. Let me start with asking you a question for you to answer. And that is, if you measure your performance, the performance of your fleet, what is it that you like to measure? So which topics would you like to measure the performance of? So that is a question to you. And if you can use the chat box, then that would be very helpful.
Ja, de vraag is
So I wait until some of you are filling in the chat box. I see, oh, Moses, thank you. Fuel consumption, yeah. That's performance that you want to measure. Cost per kilometers, average fuel consumption per 100 kilometers, yeah. Measure total, so thanks Ahmad, you measure the TCO, which is the total cost of ownership. And I see also Arnold mentioning TCO. Kilometers driven per week and slash per week and month. Yeah, so that's something that you would like to measure as well. Fleet utilization. And hopefully you're looking at, okay, so how often are my vehicles used, to make some decisions around whether your fleet is too small or too big, but also maybe looking into, okay, how many people do we have in these vehicles? So that is also something to look at. Fleet availability, satisfaction rate, yeah, safety. Super. So there is a lot of performance that we want to measure, right, when we are talking about our fleet. And we do that because we would like to use our performance measurements to make decisions around our fleet. Decisions for now that we want to take, or maybe decisions that we want to decisions around things we want to put in place in the future or in the longer term. So that's good. And in order to do that, one of the important things that we can use are using indicators. So my next question to you, and again, use the chat box because I would like to make this as interactive as we can, is when you think about indicators, what are sort of the key words that come to your mind? So when we talk about indicators, what are keywords? Yeah, so key performance indicator. Yeah, we also use instead of the word indicator, we sometimes also use KPI or key performance indicator. Simon says measuring. More people say KPIs, key performance indicators. Yeah. But what is it? What is an indicator, or what is a key performance indicator? What does this do? I'll just give it another couple of seconds, maybe a minute, which is also an indicator, right? Time is an indicator. Measures your performance, yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, we're getting there. It triggers an intervention. Yeah, that is what the outcome of an indicator should do, right? The result of an indicator should hopefully trigger an intervention, or at least make us think about our performance, or it should make us think about decisions that we need to make. And Ahmad is saying we can compare in different times to evaluate the improvement. Yeah, and that's a good description, or a good explanation about what an indicator is. And maybe the official sort of definition of an indicator is that it is a performance measurement over time. So yeah, it's over time for a specific objective. And we sometimes also relate to indicators, as some of you were saying it, as a key performance indicator. And the key performance indicator, or the indicator, evaluates the success of your organization or the success of your fleet department in which it engages. So that's really the definition of an indicator. And of course, why we use an indicator is when decision makers are considering several options. They want to be able to properly analyze the data, and they want to be able to compare like for like. And what Ahmad was already saying is that you want to then be able to compare one period over another period. So that can either be one month or 1 week or 1 day, but normally we do it over a longer period of time to take out all the seasonalities or the eventualities. So that's how we usually do it. Now, what I would like to spend time on today, and especially in relation to fleet management performance, is these indicators, because they are extremely important for us as fleet manager to get our heads around, right? Now, and with indicators, you do have leading and lagging ones, and there is differences between them. So the leading indicators are indicators of performance that might predict our future success. So these are the ones where we say, okay, well, let's say, for example, if you are implementing a new system, a fleet management system, for example, and your staff needs to start using that system, then the number of time that they look into the user guide can say something about the success of your implementation. Another example, which may resonate with some of you, is if you want to lose weight, then the number of calories that you are taking in per day says something about your success when you are losing weight, right? Now these are leading indicators. We also have lagging indicators, and the lagging indicators are the ones where we look back. We look at our past performance, and we then start to measure how we performed. So, for example, that could be well, are we satisfied with how we use a system? Are we losing weight because we are taking in less calories? Are we using safety equipment in our vehicles, and then does that then lead to a reduction in our injuries or in our fatalities with our vehicles, right? So I hope that sort of explains a little bit the difference between leading and lagging indicators. Now, when we are deciding what indicators to use to measure our performance, we need to make a decision like, okay, do we want to use the leading ones or do we want to use the lagging ones? So it is always good to have a balance, right? It's good practice, and what you see with high-performing organizations is that they always have a balance between the leading indicators and the lagging indicators. So they wanna measure their performance in terms of things that might predict something about their future success, and they want to use indicators that help them to measure their performance in the past. And if you only use lagging indicators, then you are always busy with looking backwards, right? Which might not say anything like, okay, well, this is the performance that we had, but how do we then move forward? If you only use leading indicators, then you are not able to identify whether the actions that you took, if they are really leading to your success. So that's why we are always saying, like, okay, use a combination both of leading and lagging indicators. Now let's try if this sort of difference between leading and lagging indicators, if that clicked in your head. So I have a question for you, and again, use the chat box to give me some examples. So let's assume, and I hope that this goes for every one of you. Let's assume that your target is to improve road safety in your organization. Let's say you want to achieve 0 fatalities with your fleet. Yeah, nobody dies because of your fleet operations. Then give me 3 leading indicators that you would use. Let's try this out. Let's see, I'm giving it a bit of time because let me see. I see Simon is saying all drivers trained, raise driver awareness, drivers training, put warning signal. I think, Ahmad, you mean in the vehicle, put warning signals in the vehicle, number of road safety trainings provided, road safety training completion, departure, monthly safety briefings, provide training. Testify the number of accidents in the past. Now, that is a classic example, actually, of a lagging indicators, right? It's where you look at your performance in the past. So that is a lagging indicator. All the other ones around training, around safety checks, around monthly briefings, all these are leading indicators because it will say something about your future success. It will help you to predict your future success. Safety bonus award. It is a safety bonus award. It is a lagging indicator if you look at the number of safety bonuses that you have to pay, or that you have to give to people, because normally a safety bonus is always something that you do when you look at your performance in the past. Normally, Ermelinda, you will not give your drivers upfront already a safety bonus award. You will normally, organizations will look back and say, hey, my driver has done great, and now we give you a bonus, right? So the number of bonuses that you have to give is a lagging indicator. Driving courses, training. So every training that you do in order for drivers to drive more safely and to make them more aware, or staff trainings, that is absolutely leading indicator. So yeah, I'm happy that you sort of got the idea around, okay, what type of leading indicators should we use when we talk about safety. Juanita, the one where you say road safety planning, definitely, and implementation, the progress of accident follow-up. I would say that if you measure your performance based on, okay, how well are we doing, or how well are we following up on crashes, that is it's an interesting one. I would say that is a lagging indicator, because you're looking at a process being your accident follow-up. You're looking at a process, and then you're going to look back on it, on how well have we done this. Now, I think it's great that you have so many examples. So you mentioned indeed like the percentage of staff with adequate fleet safety training, and whether that is drivers or staff. Number of management meetings in where fleet safety is addressed is an example of a leading indicator. Also, a leading indicator is the percentage of your business partners, like contractors, vehicle rental providers, rental drivers, that are evaluated and selected on the basis on their safety performance. So that's also where, when you are at the start of your procurement process, where you say, okay, well, we want to put an indicator in place where we want to have, let's say, 90% of our suppliers, we want to have them vetted before they even start with us. So that's all examples of leading indicators. Now, of course, in road safety, the more, let's say, I would say the more used ones are the lagging indicators. And so crashes per 100,000 kilometers driven, or program delivery lost, days lost because of sickness absence when people are involved in crashes, or even the number of speeding events. Now, the number of speeding events is an interesting one, right? Because you can look at that two ways. You can say, okay, well, the event has happened, so it's a lagging indicator because I'm looking back, I'm looking at the past. Now, over time, you can also use your historical data from your speeding events and say, hey, I'm going to use that as a leading indicator to predict my future performance. If I have 100 speeding events now today, what does that say about my organization, about how my drivers are driving in the future, and how to move? I see there's a lot of chats. It's almost impossible for me to catch up, but let me just move on. Now, the benefits of using leading indicators, and here it says, sort of digging more into the safety part, is that, of course, it helps you to prevent workplace injuries. For example, if road safety is a ongoing agenda point on management meetings, then of course people are much more aware, people are much more safety conscious, and it will help future events from happening. It will help reduce costs, it will optimize your safety and health performance, and another very important one is it will raise your staff participation. So that's all good reasons to use leading indicators. Now, let's see the environment. So because we know that a lot of people, or a lot of organizations, are now wanting to reduce their environmental impact. So you need also there some leading indicators to predict how successful you're going to be at that, right? So maybe give me a couple of examples how you can do that with leading indicators. So on the screen, you see the lagging ones. You see CO2, fleet emissions per 100 kilometers, fuel consumption, liters per passenger kilometer. Now, what are examples of leading indicators for that one? Let me, yeah, Carl says number of eco-driving training provided, procuring more hybrid and EVs. Yeah. Yeah. So basically the percentage, maybe the percentage of hybrid or electric vehicles in your fleet. Vehicles identified for suitable EV replacement. Yeah. Yeah. Average age of the fleets, I would say that is a lagging indicator, to be honest, because there you look at what you have. So if I have 100 vehicles now and all of my vehicles are 10 years old, then my average age is 10. right? So I'm always looking back. Now, if you say, and that's where Arnold comes in with, okay, let's dispose let's dispose vehicles, then that can be the percentage of vehicles that are disposed and then replaced by newer, younger, more fuel efficient vehicles. That can be a leading indicator. Yeah, choosing the right vehicle for the right job, having proper maintenance in place with spare parts. So the indicator there, Solomon, is more about the percentage of the percentage of maintenance schedules adhered to. Let's put it like that, because there you can predict something. Now, here's maybe well, some others, the number of trips made in a shared vehicle. So either shared within your own organization. So I see, Moses, you're mentioning merging trips. So the number of vehicles in a vehicle pool. The number of virtual trips. So if your organization says, well, we want to promote teleworking as much as possible, and we don't want our staff to travel all the time in vehicles. That, of course, is if you have a performance indicator for that one, that, of course, is a leading one. Also, the kilometers reduced. So let's say if your organization says, okay, an indicator for us is we want to reduce 20% of our kilometers going forward, then that's a leading indicator. It will say something about your future success. My last one for today about how to use indicators to say something about your fleet management performance. We in Fleet Forum we always like to use the plan, do, check, adjust cycle. So when you start using when you start looking at your performance, when you start using indicators, then on the planning side, what we advise you to do is well, decide how to measure performance, and then also develop a communication plan for your leading indicators, so that people know what you will be looking at. In the do side is we advise to start small, begin with just a few leading indicators, which then address key risk areas. So that can be key risk areas in terms of safety or environmental impact, or maybe even cost efficiency. Then check. Always check whenever you start putting indicators in place. When you look at your performance, always ask questions to assess if they give you the answers that you need, if they give you the information that you need to make improvements. And don't do that alone. Get input from your stakeholders, which can be your program staff, drivers, senior management. And then in the adjust phase is well, take actions on lessons learned, and add to existing leading indicators once you are ready for it. So these are a few of the tips around leading and lagging indicators and how they can help you measure your performance. And maybe one last tip is Fleet Forum, we just finalized a large benchmarking exercise, and some of your organizations are involved in that, and especially on the safety side of managing our fleet. We do see that organizations, the majority of the organizations, are only using lagging indicators. And I strongly encourage you to start, even if it's just one, start by measuring one leading indicator in sort of in addition to your lagging indicators. So these are my tips. Ooh, there goes my headset. Time for questions. So let me see. Do we have some questions here? We have a bit of time. Is there an impact on fuel consumption when the vehicle parked for at least for a month? Is there any impact on fuel consumption when the vehicle is parked for at least a month? Well, I would say if your vehicle is parked for a month, then you don't use any fuel, right? There is definitely an impact. My question would be, why would you have a vehicle parked for a month? What is the reason for that? But yes, there's definitely an impact on your average fuel, let's say your fuel consumption per 100 kilometers a month, because you do have fuel consumption. Let's say if you fueled the vehicle today, and then as of tomorrow, the vehicle is parked for a whole month, meaning you don't have any kilometers against it, then there definitely is an impact on that. Let me see. I see that. Let me see if there's. Testify the place where the vehicle is parked. I'm not sure, Testify, if I understand this question, but so maybe if you can if you can make it more clear, then I see a question. Yeah. Max, yeah, great question, thanks. Does Fleetforum have any resources outlining an array of leading and lagging fleet KPIs and their variables data requirements? Yes, we do, and after the webinar later today, we will send you an email. Everybody on the webinar, we will send an email with the link to the recorded version of this webinar, but also with some materials that you can find on our knowledge platform. And one of them is around leading and lagging indicators. So that's one where you can get some inspiration on, okay, what should I look at and what should I measure in terms of my fleet safety, environmental impact, cost efficiency, and effectiveness of the fleet. And then the other thing that I would like you to invite to take a look at is at the Fleetforum conference, we did a webinar on, there was a webinar on data bias, because one thing is, okay, to have the measurements in place, but the other one is making sure that the data that you have, that is, well, complete data, correct data, that it is cleaned if needed, and that the data gives you the information that you or your senior managers need to make decisions. So it is easy to be biased by your data. So I really recommend you to have a look at that webinar. Let me see. I don't see any more questions. Let me see. Oh, Tesfai, in relation to the question above. Okay, let me. Okay, I think that's it then. Let me switch back if there's no more questions. Like I said, on the Fleetforum knowledge platform, there is a document with leading and lagging fleet management performance indicators. We will put the link to this specific document in the email that you will all get after the webinar. I hope you found this useful. I want to thank you all for being so active and giving your insights in the chat. That's always helpful, because I mean, together we learn more, right? And it is also good to see what other fleet managers in different countries from different organizations have to share. So that's good. Next week we're gonna be back with another webinar. And then we're going to talk about the Green Fleet Manager, because, well, as we all know, we need to do something about the environmental impact of our fleet. And one thing is to become more green. And what we would like to do next week is to share with you our views on, okay, what should a green fleet manager do, and how might that change in relation to your current job and your current profile, and how you deal, how you work, and how you manage, and how you coach your drivers, right? So I think it's an interesting topic, because it's very topical for many organizations. And I would like to see all of you back. And for now, I want to wish you a very nice day and hope to see you soon. Thanks a lot.